Hi, I'm Judy Turner with Delmasol Design, and I have a drapery workroom, custom drapery workroom. And many of us who have home sewing businesses have switched gears, and we're making fabric masks to be used during this COVID-19 outbreak. So I had a request from some people about how to assemble, and you're welcome to make your own. And I've also got some available. I try and supply um, low-income families. I've got a selection here that's going to Dover Children's Home, and I'm also going to be supplying the Dover Teen Center. So I try and find people who need them, who want them, and I also will give them out to anyone who wants them. So you can contact me through Facebook or my website. And I also include a little card with a Venmo ID on it because whatever donations I get goes right back into getting more supplies. And I've just got a bunch of elastic in, so that's going to finish out these and get these finished for me. So to the pattern, this is a pattern that's available online. This is the general shape of the pattern, and it comes in 4 different sizes. I sized it up and included an extra large. This extra large is good for men who are like over 200 pounds, or if people want to wear this over an N95 mask. These fabric masks have no medical claim to them. These masks are to protect other people from you, not you from COVID. Okay, so there are different ways out there to make them. There are a lot of different philosophies about making masks, but I'm just here to show you mine. So I've got 5 different patterns, and that's the general shape. So when you've got your pattern, you make lining is cut to the exact size of the pattern. The face fabric is cut to the size of the pattern plus 3/4 of an inch. So you have a face fabric and a lining. You're going to stitch on the machine. I stitch this curved section first on both the lining and the face fabric. So I've done that here with this one. Put my patterns away. I'll show you what it looks like. I like to do neutral colored ones. A lot of people do novelties, and I've got novelty prints for kids. But I think as an adult, we don't all want to walk around with unicorns on our face. So I have one that's just I try and get neutral pattern colors. If you can still hear me, it goes around the ear, covers the nose, covers down to the chin. There's room to put another layer in there if you want to, but this is about how it should fit, and it just tucks behind. I'll take it off so you can hear better. It doesn't pull behind the ear. It just kind of sits on there comfortably. So that's the mask I have. Some have pleats in it. I chose to go with one that was more contoured. So this has been stitched right sides together. This one is stitched. Do you want to move in? So this is stitched right sides together, pressed. That seam has been pressed open, and it gets flipped this way. Now I'm going to press this one. This is the lining. It's tricky because it's got a little curve here. So you're just going to do the best you can. You kind of stitch a little into the curve. It's kind of flat on that one edge. This is the side that it's really curved. So I kind of get it straightened out there with my finger. Take the iron in, and when the fabric and the table is warm, you can sometimes open this up with your finger and just finger press it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's basically like that. That's good enough for us. So then you're going to put right sides together. I match the seams best I can. Get these pins.
So I'm going to put one pin here. I don't do a lot of pinning. If you're new to sewing, you might want to include a few more pins, but I've been sewing a long time. I just do 2. Okay, so now I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine and show you where I stitch next. Okay, now I'm going to stitch on this outside edge and the outside edge of the curve. I like to do the straight curve, or the straight line first, the straight edge first, and then I do the curve line second. Oh. So to rethread. Flip it inside out. So now you've got right sides out. Now I'm going to take it over to my pressing table and give it a press. Okay, now I'm going to press it. So right sides out. Again, I press the straight edge first. I just find that that's easier. I press the straight edge, flip it around. If you do this on a warm table, you can usually find where that seam is. Hit it with your iron. And then I also like to just hit the inside again. You'll see I'll be stitching here, so I just like to do that. Then before you leave the pressing table to go back to the machine, I turn that in just about 1/4 of an inch on each side. 1/4 of an inch there. I'm going to turn it up about 1/4 of an inch here, press. And then I just turn this over so that it's overlapping onto the lining. So it's about 1/2 inch. That's going to form the pocket where our elastic is going to go. So that kind of is already folded. Just press that in. Press up 1/4 of an inch. Turn it up so it overlaps the lining. About 1/2 inch, give or take. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, but before I go, I'm going to show you the next step. I'm also going to stitch over there on another mask, the elastic. So I've made this template because I get my elastic in these large rolls, and I like to measure it out. You can either do 7-inch elastic or 8-inch elastic, and that'll be for the loops. So a quick way, if you're making a bunch of masks, a quick way is just to run it like this, up and around. So I'm at the 7-inch mark here. Don't stretch it too much because you want it to just be loose. Cut there. And then I just gotta cut these 2 right in there. So now I've got elastic cut quickly for my ear pieces. Okay, now we're gonna take this over to the sewing machine and we'll finish it out. Now we're gonna finish stitching our masks. Turn my machine back on. I'm gonna set those over to the side. The first thing I like to do is from the right side, from the front, I'm going to stitch right down this nose seam here. And I do that because I find that as you're washing the mask, it's going to help keep these layers together. And also when this line is stitched, it helps keep the mask away from your nose and your mouth. So when you're out, it's not pressing right up against. It kind of gives you a little cone and a little space there. So you can breathe. It's really just for breathing. You still need to be able to breathe through these masks. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I just follow that seam. And I don't worry about what it looks like on the inside, because no one's going to see that. But with any luck, it kind of lines up there as well. Close enough. And then from this side, from the inside, lining side, I'm going to stitch right along this edge. Again, I'm making these quickly, and I don't really care so much about the seam allowance. I'm using my skinny foot, and I'm just going right up against the edge. This is really just for stability as you wash this mask over and over. I don't want the layers to separate on me and the mask shape to get distorted. So having this top stitching just kind of helps things stay in place. These masks should be washed after each time that you wear them outside. They can be hand washed. They don't have to be machine washed. You can hand wash them, let them dry. I like to let them air dry. They're 100% cotton. You should wash them before you wear them. Okay, so, and then you can press them if they're all wrinkly and you don't like that. You can press them after they're washed, and that'll also help just kind of sterilize it a bit. So for the elastic, I overlap it about a quarter, maybe a half an inch. I overlap that piece. This elastic is kind of thin. Your elastic might be a little bit more stiff, but I put the longer piece on the bottom. I stick it under here, and I like to do 3 short stitches. So three short lines of stitching, I should say. 1, 2. Drop it back at the overlap. It's still going to be a loop. 3. Trim that. And I'm going to show you on this one. So what I do on this one, I like to anchor it down at the bottom. So I'm going to put my overlap close to the straight edge, which is the bottom. And I'm going to put that way so you can see. I'm gonna do a little bit of a stitch line right at the bottom to anchor that elastic right where I want it, because I want the overlap at the bottom of my casing. So I'm gonna do that, pivot, and then here I'm just gonna make sure that my elastic stays in. And I just stitch up the side. I do not stitch across the top, and I'll show you why. So I only stitch at the bottom just to kind of anchor that loop in there. And I leave it open at the top so you can kind of see here. It's been stitched across here, stitched up there, and then the elastic is free to adjust. So this can be gathered down so that it fits comfortably. And it's anchored down there, but it's not going to slide around, and I'm not going to see where that overlap is that I've stitched. So this is what a complete mask looks like, and go ahead and finish this one. I'll do it one more time. So I've got the elastic on the bottom, just like that, overlapped about a half an inch. I just do 3 quick lines of stitching. I find that that's all it needs to stay in place. Make sure you don't cut your elastic when you're doing that. I'll do it one more time. So it's overlapped about 1/2 inch. And that's the 3rd row of stitching. I don't have a backup on this, a back stitch on this, so I have to use my machine a little differently. So on this one, because I'm going to stitch down here and I'm going to stitch across the bottom. So on this side, I just kind of place this here. I walk up my loop, put it in where I believe it's going to be. So my overlap is at the bottom. Again, you're not stitching across the top, you're only stitching down the side of the casing. So you're only stitching this outside edge. And now, as soon as I have it tacked, I can stick this inside, finish stitching down. If you're making these in a hurry, all these little loose ends you can cut later. You can make them perfect. You can leave them the way they are. I do that. I do a little back tack right there. And then this is where I'm going to stitch across here, anchor the bottom. And do that. So when you pull it all out and cut, just make sure that you're not cutting your elastic when you're snipping your threads. So then you'll have to start all over. My next elastic, this is the one, here's the bottom edge. So again, I put it in there. And I do a little tack back and forth with stitching, get to my edge. My threads are in the way here. Tidy it up. Remove it, and there's another mask. So this is a medium. This is a small. I make the smalls for kids, and I have an extra small for children who are about 3 years old to 7. This would be for teens and women. On this size is small. Okay, so you can find me at domicildesign.com, domicil at comcast.net, or find me on Facebook at Domicil Design. Thank you.